This is an AuthorTube channel and not a BookTube channel, but I do write young adult fiction, and so I read a lot of young adult fiction. So I thought maybe a fun video to do for the end of the year is to share with you all of the amazing young adult books that I read in 2020. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Laura Writes. Ding! I'm your girl, Laura. If you're new here, hi, I'm Laura. I write young adult horror and contemporary fantasy, ? And I am pursuing a traditional publishing career path, hopefully. But today's video is a little bit different because it is about books I read and not books I wrote. Now, I wanted to do this video because I thought it seemed like fun to do because I read a lot of great books this year and I kind of wanted to share that with everyone. But I also really think it's important that you're reading what you want to write and using those books not just to have a good time, but to also learn from them. So what I wanted to do in today's video was share with you the top books, not all the books, but the top books that I read that were young adult fiction in 2020 that especially I felt like were helpful when thinking about writing. So the way I kind of narrowed down, so I read 25 books this year. And the way I narrowed it down was to focus on the ones that I gave 4 stars or 5 stars on Goodreads. So there's no, because like 3 stars in the, like I do the partial, even though you can't, I like write it in the review. Anything from 3 to 4 to me is like good. 4 to 5 is great. And then 5 is like fantastic. Like, write home to your mother about. And surprisingly, I have more 5s on this list than 4s, but that's because I'm one of those like all or nothing kind of girls. I either like love it or hate it. But I wanted to only include the books that I gave in the range of 4 to 5 or full 5. I don't ever give more than 5 because that's weird. So what I want to do is start with the 4s, which there's only 2 of them, and then move on to the 5s, which there are 6 of those. So these vary in genre, and some of these are not like, they didn't come out in 2020, it's just when I read them. But I just thought it'd be fun to kind of share with you what I read, what I loved, and maybe make some suggestions for books for you to read in 2021. All right, so let's get started with my 4 stars. So like I said, there are 2 4-star books. I don't know the exact stars because like I said, I do partial, but these were somewhere that had a 4, either a solid 4 or 4 point something. I will have all of the information for all of these books linked down in the description. So let's get started. So my first 4-star read was Crier's War. So if you don't know what this book is, it is a mashup of science fiction and fantasy, and it is about a sort of royalty monarchy, a princess falling in love with a plebe, you know, or like essentially someone who is anti the royalty. Only the royalty are androids. So they have basically taken over and they are now in charge, and the humans are their subservients, and the princess is the droid, and the love interest, another female, is a human who wants to like overthrow the royalty. So it is a LGBTQ romance. It is a genre mashup, and that is one of the things I really, first of all, I love androids. In another world, in another life, I would be a sci-fi writer, and I do have an android book that maybe someday I will write and publish. But I loved this so much, and I really thought this was great because it shows how you can do mashups of genres. So another one that's going to be coming out in 2021, because you know I got to shamelessly plug my girl Liselle, her book Blood Like Magic is going to be coming out in 2021, and hers is a mashup of fantasy and sci-fi, so it's witches in the future. So it can be done, and I think that Crier's War is a great example of one. So the other 4-star for me was Sawkill Girls. Now, Sawkill Girls is a horror, mystery, fantasy YA book. I really enjoy this one, and why I really want to include this one and rank it high up there is it is a great example of showing a horror that's like a real horror, like there are real monsters in it. And it's sort of like what I would call maybe even like a contemporary fantasy, in that there are like supernatural elements that exist in the real world. And I think it did a fantastic job of that. The writing is lyrical and beautiful, and the supernatural element is just all the things that you want. It's scary, it is creepy, it's fantastic. Chef's kiss. Highly recommend Sawkill Girls. All right, so now on to my 5-star, which are like pure perfection, nothing bad to say about them. So the first one is One of Us Is Next. Now everyone knows Karen McManus. I mean, do I really need to say why this is a 5-star? She is great at mystery, suspense. She's great at contemporary and getting you caring about her characters. She is great about pacing as well. Like, she is a shining example of like the YA thriller of being like short, concise, to the point, doing all the things, checking all the boxes. You can't go wrong with a Karen McManus book. I have not read The Cousins yet. I really want to read it because I've read all of her other books and I'm really excited to read it soon. So far all of the books that I mentioned I don't actually own. I have them on audiobook. The next one I do own, even though I did listen to it on audiobook, and that is The Hate U Give. So I do own it, but I ended up listening to it on audiobook. It was fantastic in an audiobook, but also have the hardcover because I love this book. Now The Hate U Give, I think, is another one that kind of goes without saying what's amazing about it. I mean, we all know Angie Thomas is just the queen of voice. Like, she's the Taylor Swift of YA contemporary voice. You know how like you listen to Taylor Swift and you're like, wow, this chick just has her finger on the pulse of the youth, right? Of like the people her age. She's just, you're thinking it, you're feeling it, she's saying it. That is what I feel like Angie Thomas is. Like, she is just, it's perfection. She just knows it. It's inherent. She's a queen of writing, and The Hate U Give is all those things. It's all the things you want. It is great voice. It is great pacing, interesting setting. It gets you into the mind and the lives of people that you may not be familiar with. It talks about really important issues. I mean, The Hate U Give is the kind of book that if I was still teaching, I would make my students read. Like, it's on that level. So if you haven't read it yet, I know you've probably heard about it, go ahead and read it. Because even, I kind of put it off just because I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna love it. I know what the topic is. Like, I wasn't in a hurry. But even though you know all of those elements, it doesn't take anything away from the reading experience. It is a great, fantastic book, and it is a great example of voice. So I highly recommend reading that if you're struggling with coming up with a clear, concise voice for your characters. So the next one I listened to, the audiobook, was Tweet Cute. This one was perfection in terms of a YA contemporary like rom-com. I mean, there's really nothing I can fault this book with. It is exactly, if you want a YA cute little romance, you're gonna get it in this book. It is exactly what you want. It's got the enemies to lovers. It implements those things perfectly. It includes, you know, the like main plot, which is cute and fun, but also a larger issue. So if you're looking for writing some sort of like simple, cute YA contemporary, look no further than Tweet Cute, because it's right up there with, like, it's just like perfection. She ticks all the boxes of all the things that you want, and she does it fantastically and what seems like effortlessly. And I love the concept of like these dueling like food truck, like food stand and stall things. Like, it's great. It's fantastic. And speaking of really fantastic, like cute rom-com YA contemporaries, that takes me to the next one that I read, and that is You Should See Me in a Crown. This is another perfect YA contemporary. I think it actually combines elements of what's great in The Hate U Give and then also elements of what's great in Tweet Cute, because I feel like The Hate U Give has really great voice, which You Should See Me in a Crown also has. Fantastic, clear, really distinct voice, but it also has all the cute, perfect elements of what you want in a YA contemporary. It has like scavenger hunts, and there's like a ticking clock that makes sense, like the dance at the end of the year. It has all of the little elements that you expect to find in a YA contemporary that takes place during the school year. It's got the insecurities that come with the future and not knowing who you are. It's got a great LGBT love story in it. I mean, it's just all the things perfectly packaged into this just fantastic voicey YA contemporary. So I really, really love this book. It was so effortless to read and listen to. I just whipped right through it, and I highly recommend if you are looking for an adorable, voicey, but also dealing with some like bigger issues and some really what I would say are real contemporary issues, especially for the BIPOC LGBT community. So 10 out of 10 would recommend that one. So I have 2 more left in my 5-star, and both of these are YA horrors that I read right here at the end of the year when I started binge reading horrors, when I realized that my own book, Beware of Monsters, is going to be a horror. Now, I've read a lot of them, Horrid, some other ones that were pretty good, but these two are 5-star. If you like YA horror, have to read these. These are the ones for you. So this one I actually have in hardcover, this first one, and that is Harrow Lake. This is a fantastic YA horror. It has all of the elements that I like in horror. It's very like meta, like she's the daughter of a horror movie director, and she has her own sort of like mystery happening in her life, where her father's kind of best known for one film in particular that was filmed in her mom's hometown, which is like this super weird Midwestern town. Something happens to her dad. She has to go back. It's super creepy. All the people in the town are creepy. The town is obsessed with the movie. So the whole town has this like horror film vibe. It's so good, you guys. It has tons of horror elements that you want in books. It is a page turner. It totally is fantastic for vibe and setting. Like, this is what I'm going to be looking to when I'm thinking about my own vibe and setting, especially if you're doing that small Midwestern creepy vibe. This is the book for you. And speaking of that small Midwestern creepy vibe, that is also the setting for the next recommendation, my last of this video. And that is Clown in a Cornfield. Now, if you were to take a horror movie and make it into a book, this is exactly to a T what it should be. It is so obvious that the author loves horror movies, studied horror movies, and did their best to recreate a horror movie into a book, because that is something that I am struggling with in my own writing, is that I'm obsessed with horror movies. I watch horror movies more than I read horror books, and so I'm trying to keep that horror movie element that I love so much and translate it into a book. And so Clown in a Cornfield is the perfect example for me to use when trying to figure out how to keep that same vibe, that same like tension and excitement that you get in horror films and translate it into a book. Now, I will say that this book is not for the faint of heart. It is very slashery. It is very graphic. There's a lot of death. It is extremely fast-paced, which I love. I would love to write something this fast-paced, and it had given me so many ideas for books in the future to do fast-paced. But my current book is not quite as fast-paced, but it makes me like want to try to figure out how to do it. But it is perfectly spooky. It's got a great setting. It's got the great like main plot of like the horror element, but then like the larger story that's going on. There are twists and turns. Nobody's safe. It was perfection. Really, really helped me think about what I want in my own horror books. And so if you like horror at all, or you like those books where you're like, who's gonna die next? Who's gonna live? Who's gonna survive this? If you like to be creeped out and scared and all this, you have to read this book, you guys. It's fantastic, and I can't believe I went so long without reading it, because I just was judging a book by its cover and title, which I think is kind of a dumb title, but it is fantastic. Read it for sure, but only if you can handle some slasher gore. I know some of y'all can't handle that. All right, guys, so those were the best young adult books that I read in 2020. What about you? What were some of the best young adult books that you read in 2020? Comment down below, let me know. I'm always here for the suggestions. I'm really looking for some more YA horror that has been written in the last 2 years. I'm really looking for more contemporary fantasy, especially vampire books, because I do have a vampire book idea I'd like to work on possibly in 2021. But I'm really just here for all the fantastic YA books. So if you have any recommendations that you think I should read, or other people who are watching this video, please be sure to comment down below. Now, if you like this video and you think other people might enjoy it too, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, because it lets YouTube know to send it to other people. And if you're not already subscribed and you want to continue to get my awesome recommendations, my funny little banter, and watch my journey in 2021, try to become, well, at least try to get an agent in 2021, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!